Wednesday mornings, 10 a.m. Just following our news update, we check in with our friends in Ottawa at the Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital with neither politics nor punditry. I strongly recommend every week you check it out, blacklocks.ca. It's well worth your subscription. It might get your blood boiling a little bit, but these are the stories we don't hear elsewhere, at least not all too often. The managing editor there is Tom Korski, who joins us for these weekly chats. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Mike.
I've described my reaction to yesterday's budget as underwhelming. It didn't have that generational investment or transformative nature that I was led to believe it might have. I don't know. Other than separating operating from capital, I'm kind of meh on all of this. But maybe, Tom, maybe that's just because I missed the tax break that the federal government is offering us on boats, personal aircraft, and foreign-owned vacant realty. Excuse me?
This is the heyday of the Chrystia Freeland era, the Department of Finance. And this is not ancient history. She did this only 3 years ago, imposed a 10% luxury tax on automobiles over $100,000. That one remains, by the way, and that one hurts. I mean, $100,000, we're not talking Rolls-Royce. That's an electric Ford F-150 pickup. Also imposed a luxury tax on $250,000 boats and aircraft. In boat manufacturers in particular in Canada were just incensed, Mike. They went to committee and said, don't you see? People are just going to go across the lake, buy from an American supplier, and save a fortune. Cabinet's now saying, effective today. Today's the big day. If you want a boat, Mike, and I know you've always had that dream, you can save a lot of money on the repeal of the luxury tax on boats. The vacant real estate tax is an oddity. That was also supposed to be a tax on foreign speculators who bought real estate in Canada, residential property, and left it vacant. And it was supposed to collect billions, and Minister Freeland in the day said this is going to really go after those speculators she blamed for driving up housing prices. They're getting rid of that tax. Strangely, it was never collected. They estimated the billions in revenue, but they were phantom billions. They were never collected, and now they're getting rid of it.
On vacant realty, which is one of the parts here that really, I think, stands out. So these houses, it's pure speculation. The house sits empty. Who knows what state that it's in, and yet the tax has been repealed on it.
It has, but it became really a game to drive mice crazy. Non-resident foreigners who own property in Canada had to every year fill out a 6-page form. And they had like over 350 employees at Canada Revenue Agency sorting through these forms. Anyone who's lived in a city that has a municipal vacant property tax knows, and I'm not giving people tax advice, it's not hard to bypass that. And apparently the 350 tax collectors at the Revenue Agency came to the same conclusion. Let's see, what were the figures? 579,000 foreign non-resident foreigners who own vacant property or own property in Canada submitted those forms. 579,000. 478,000 of them figured out they had no amounts owing, which left just a few suckers who had to pay this tax, though it was never collected in the first place. By the way, what was the overhead? $59 million administration cost.
Sounds about right.
Honestly.
Okay, so maybe we can find some good news here. Perhaps the feds were listening some months ago when you and I, Tom, talked about that 2 billion trees program. You broke it down as to the cost to date, the number of trees that were actually planted, and I think we agreed never going to happen. Well, they've wound it down. No 2 billion tree program anymore.
Interesting. It took 6 years. It cost over $250,000. They had 50 employees moving the paperwork on that and the Department of Natural Resources, and now it's gone. It was interesting that people in the climate change community, and I mean people like the Canadian Meteorological Oceanographic Society, said this was overrated, it was a waste of money. And my favorite was the Department of Natural Resources memo we got through Access to Information, who said they were never going to plant 2 billion trees in the first place. They were looking for a catchy name. I quote them accurately, sought a name that would inspire commitment and participation. It was all kind of sloganeering, but there is a takeaway. And it was the government manufactured a problem. They didn't ever meet their target. And then they talked about how hard it was. They actually testified in committee. Do you know how hard it is to plant the right tree in the right place? Because it's not like trees just do that naturally, dropping seedlings everywhere for the last 2 billion years, let alone 2 billion trees. Trees, no problem. Yale School of Forestry, Mike.
I laugh.
Over 300 billion trees in Canada.
I laugh lest I cry, Tom. Honest to goodness. Do you know how hard it is to plant a tree? I planted one in the backyard. I should have done it on this program. Might have helped out a bit. Okay, budgets are all about spending, how we're going to spend, what we're going to spend, where we're going to spend it. But in a slightly different vein, we're spending how much to provide room and board for illegal immigrants in this country?
$195 a day. Interestingly, that's down a little bit. They found a way to economize. They've trimmed that cost by $29 a day. These are average figures from the Department of Immigration. Illegal immigrants, average cost per hotel room on arrival, $132 a night. Meals, average $62 a day. That's down from $84 last year. Isn't that interesting? They're looking for some savings. Of course, MPs ask these questions. This is in a House tabling because it drives them out of their minds. There's an interesting report coming, Mike. It's by the Budget Office, so you know it's on the level. And they've asked themselves the question, what do illegal immigrants actually cost per person? They came out with a report 6 years ago that said everyone famously knows these appeals, the Immigration Refugee Board, it goes on year after year after year. They came up with a figure of $34,000 per person. Illegal immigration is the most expensive foreign aid program you ever saw, and a lot of parliamentarians don't want to talk about that.
Something I'm sure Chris D'Entremont doesn't want us talking about, and I think got overshadowed in the budget talk yesterday, but I mentioned it at the beginning of my show this morning because it's something that has long frustrated me. Chris D'Entremont, elected as a Conservative not 9 months ago, crosses the floor because I guess the water's warmer with the Liberals.
Didn't really articulate a good reason. It might be a Nova Scotia thing, Mike. There have been a lot of floor crossers, ironically, from Nova Scotia. Scott Bryson famously quit the Conservatives, went to Liberals, became Treasury Board President. There was a Green MP, Jenica Atwin from Halifax. She quit, went to the Liberals. All their careers are short. If it's regional, I have to tell you, by the way, where I'm from, they just, your constituents just want to shoot out your tires if you do this. And I'm talking about the New Democrats. That's not even Conservatives. New Democrat leader Don Davies, he's from Edmonton, now MP for Vancouver Kingsway. You ever get him on the phone and say, hey, what about floor crossing? You will see a man's blood pressure go up. He actually wrote a bill to abolish the practice, saying you want to cross the floor, buddy, you resign and face your electors in a by-election. He called it betrayal of trust of the First Order. Yeah, Westerners, they get hot on that.
I do too. I just found myself in alignment with Don Davies. Go figure. Tom, keep up the great work. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Tom Korski is the managing editor with Blacklock's Reporter. That is the nation's capital. Only reporter-owned and operated newsroom. Check it out for yourself. Well worth the subscription at blacklocks.ca. Tom joins us every Wednesday morning as we mind Ottawa's business together here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.